You want to hear this tractor run? I do. So this is my 1980 or 1981 Ford 2600 tractor. It's gasoline. This was given to me. The guy had it. He had fuel system delivery issues. The tank looks like it's had a coating in it. It was full of varnish. We've gone through, we've hooked up a temporary tank, we've rebuilt the carburetor, we've cleaned the points, checked for spark at the coil. We've got weak spark. We've got a very weak spark. Hopefully it's enough to get it started. Fuel, spark, it sounds like it has compression. We had to replace the starter solenoid. All this is in previous videos. If you haven't seen those, take a look up at the top or to the side or somewhere here. I'll put a link to the previous videos. Anyway, let's see if this thing will start. I don't know. Choke cable's froze up, so we're just gonna have to wing it. The choke cable is froze up. No, there's no way that thing's moving. I can't get my fingers in there to choke it. I'm doing a quick improvise. Float. Looks like it stopped dripping. I wish I had a fuel shut off this thing and pinch it shut. I love Tygon line. Let's see. Let me think about this. Maybe flooded. It's also possible we've got really weak spark. Like I said, when I tested spark on this thing, we had good input from the points. We had good power going to the coil, but the spark the coil produced was really weak. Pull it off here again. You know, it was trying to start a little bit. I don't know if this thing goes through a resistor. Or spark up the top here. Ballast resistor. But it does have a good, it may have an internal resistor coil. Be on, because we got no spark. Key was on, and there was no spark there. Nada. Now the rain's really starting to come down. I think we're about to be shut down for the day. I've got this coil here. It's got a busted off lug on the coil. We hooked it up with the it's got a busted off negative side lead, but it's enough to get a jumper lead on. Let's just try this. I think we're going to have to take a step back and kind of, instead of just throwing stuff at it, actually test that coil, test the condenser, probably throw a new set of points in it, and you know, maybe do a compression test instead of just guessing. Yeah. Since we've had 2 coils sparking there, I'm gonna almost guarantee you we've got a bad condenser. That's probably our cause of our weak spark. That's 2 coils now, and I would almost bet that the other one is doing the same thing. It's arcing like that. I've seen that before when you've got a bad condenser. And let me bring y'all close and you can see. And I don't have another condenser to put in it, so I think we'll probably just order a points and condenser set. Camera's all wet. Luckily it does okay with, it's waterproof or water resistant. Watch the spark. Y'all see that? Pretty sure we got a bad point, or bad condenser. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get a set of points and a condenser. We'll put the original coil back on it, and I bet this thing will run. But it's raining, I don't have parts. We'll continue this later. Starter drive is kind of junk on this thing, but let's see what it'll do. We're gonna turn our fuel back on, which means just tip the gas tank back over. And then we've got a new take our battery cable. Do that. Better flow of fuel like that. So, new points and condenser, same original coil. I'm going to try no choke. I think it's going to need choke, but let's just see what it does. Key on. Right, let me get a piece of cardboard. Choke cable's froze up, so this is our choke. Just make sure we didn't lose our points. New set of points. But I don't know. That's good. We're going to flip this around, make sure our coil is getting power. Yeah, it is. The coil's getting power. Let's check, see if the coil is firing. Oh, we got a really good spark now. Alright, so we probably got a fuel issue. Make sure, yeah, we got plenty of fuel. Let me grab some starting fluid. It gets off or tries to hit off of the stuff. We're out of starting fluid, but yeah, definitely better improvement. But what's going on with our carb? Why will it not run off the carb? If you watched the carb rebuild video, there was one tube that was in the body, not the body of the carb, but there's a other thing in the float bowl, and there was a tube in it that looked like it should have been in the body of the carb, and maybe that's where we're having issues. I don't know. Let's see if it'll start on brake cleaner. Not want to run. Key wasn't turning off either. Starter, it was running, but the starter's hung up. I don't know if it's a solenoid. It had to be the solenoid. Our new solenoid. It's working now. Alright, let's see. Alright, let's see if this thing will start now. We'll let it sit for a minute. It wants to. We've got issues. I'm not going to keep trying this thing. I don't know. You know, pull my battery out and top it off. I can tell it's getting a little weak, but I thought this was going to be an easy one, but I guess I shouldn't have thought that, because now it's just fighting us. I think next thing is definitely to, we're going to pull the plugs out, clean them up. That one wasn't even pushed all the way on. These plug wires look awful too. That one's not even pushed on either. Oh man. I should have inspected this further. I pulled the first one off and it looked okay. Alright, number 3 plug wire doesn't even have an end on it. It was just shoved in there. The end is not on the plug, and these plugs, man, or at least number 3. Number 3 looks awful. I'm gonna find out what plugs it takes. We're gonna get a set of wires and plugs for this thing, and we should be good. I feel like it'll run. Carb issues. I'm not gonna do anything with that yet. I think we're gonna go ahead and do plugs and wires. After that, if we still have issues with it running, then if we still have issues with it running, we're going to investigate the carb. The carburetor definitely has issues because it's doing one of two things. Either it's flooding out, or it's kind of popping back and with it trying to run and everything, maybe it's sucking fuel up and then it's dropping it back down. You can see it almost kind of puffs back when it's trying to start. We could have a timing issue, but when it puffs back, a bunch of fuel comes out. So it may not be so much flooding, but something else. I don't know. I'm done. I did not plan on working on this thing this long today. I've got other things to do, so we're gonna have to pick up on this one later. All right, I'm gonna fast forward y'all a bunch. You're gonna see this in upcoming videos. Spark plugs, wires, and a starter. So all that is now on here in the sake of making the first start. We're going to fast forward through that now, and then after this I'll upload the starter and spark plugs and all that kind of stuff. But I really wanted to do the first start first. I didn't want to drag this out, you know, to a super long video, although it is going to be a longer video, just because the issues we've run across in trying to get this tractor started. I thought it was going to be an easy start, but I guess I shouldn't have assumed. So we've got our fuel now, and let's see if we can get this thing to start now. Ignition. I don't know if we're getting fuel. I've got it choked. Try unchoking it. This starter sounds much better than the old one. Well, I guess when you replace everything on the tractor, it runs. Yeah, I think I know they were having issues with the fuel system on this thing, but I would almost bet their major issues were with the ignition system. Bad condenser, and the plug wires were awful, and I would almost bet that back plug, the front two, looked pretty new. I think somebody had been... I'm not going to tell y'all that. We're going to save that. Stay tuned for the spark plug video. You're going to want to watch that one. That one's coming up. Let's see if we can get it started. It kind of sounded like it was missing, but maybe that's just how these 3-cylinders sound. I don't know. I'm going to get my fuel system a little better. Let's just take this off. That's better. Alright. See if it'll start back up. All of a sudden the battery didn't sound that great. Choke it. The starter sounds so much better than the other one did. Man, this thing, this is like the cursed tractor. I'm gonna let it sit. So maybe it just kind of flooded out. Maybe we still have some carb issues, and we can get this thing running again. Now, I don't know how accurate my gauge is. It used to be stuck on 20 or 30, somewhere in there. And so I took it and ran it backwards. Took the cover off, ran it backwards, and got it to where it rests on 0. Ooh, 55. Like I said, my gauge could be off, so let's not go by the numbers. We're gonna just go by consistency. got 100. It could be right. Actually, it was about a 105 or so. Well, that's no good. That one's pretty much got 0. We got a stuck valve. All right, found a new gauge from a compression gauge, and so now we're getting some actual readings. All right, that one's what, 85, and we had 105 and then 0. So I think our issue, and you can tell by the plugs too, that little bit that it ran, you can see that one was running and that was running and that one was not. That was number 1. And I'll tell you what I think what's happening. I think what we've got going on with the, you know, the way the gas comes back down, I think the intake valve is stuck on number 1. So I think our next step, and I don't know if I'm gonna do this today, will be to pull the valve cover off. I think to do that, we're gonna have to pull the hood completely off. We're gonna have to take this canister off, and we're gonna see if we can maybe tap on the intake valve. Maybe it's adjusted tight, or we can try tapping on it, see if we can get it to free up. But I'd be willing to bet that the intake valve is stuck. So I'm gonna leave off here and we'll dig into this and try to get it lined up. I'm gonna just thread the plugs back in it so we can get this thing back. The other option, when I put my finger over it, it really had a suction on my finger. What if the rocker arm popped off of the intake? I don't know. We're theorizing now, but or guessing. Yeah, but this isn't going to come off without this coming off, and I don't think this is going to come off without the hood coming off. I'm not getting into all that today. I'm going to take the battery back off, go put it on charger. We're going to put the plugs back on. I'll leave the wires off for now. I'm just going to throw the plugs in it, and we'll continue this another day. This tractor is just beating me up, but we'll get it. I'm confident we'll get this thing going.